And welcome to today's Return to Work Week session on LinkedIn, a really valuable tool that you need to try and find a job these days. LinkedIn, we know that at least 87% of recruiters are now using LinkedIn to find and vet candidates, and at least 20 million companies are listed on the social media site and growing, I think, certainly since all the different sort of changes that have been going on with social media over the last couple of years have started to take effect. So we are very, very happy to have with us today Emma Al-Kiawi of CV Guru, who gives a lot of advice to all of our job seekers on our website, and has done for many years now. Welcome, Emma.
Hi there.
It's lovely to have you here, and I know we've spoken about LinkedIn in the past in some of our articles, and we wanted to bring that to life and to get up to date on what's happening now with LinkedIn. So what is the best way of presenting yourself on LinkedIn?
So there's a lot of different things on LinkedIn, but of course, firstly, there's no point in maybe contributing to LinkedIn or posting on LinkedIn if you don't have a fully complete profile. So it's really important that you spend some time on your profile, because first impressions do count. So you do need to have a fully complete profile. So that includes having an up-to-date picture on your profile picture. In the background, there's a banner picture as well, and that contributes to something called your quality score on LinkedIn. So the more complete your LinkedIn profile is, the sort of higher quality scores it receives, which means if people are searching for someone like yourself, you're more likely to come up in the search function. So things like having a really good LinkedIn headline. So a lot of people will use LinkedIn's default, which could just say, for example, project manager, but that you could be a project manager of everything. So make sure that if you were looking for someone like you, what would you be typing into the headline? So think about industry, location, as well as your job title as well. Then there's a really good section on LinkedIn called your About section, and that's a summary of your skills and experience and your background. And you've got quite a lot of words to play with there, about 400 on average. So again, that contributes to you being found on LinkedIn. So it's really important you spend a lot of time on that. And then the other sections are quite self-explanatory, such as your work experience section and education. The other great thing on LinkedIn is there's a recommendation section as well. So you can physically go out to your connections that you've maybe worked with in the past. So perhaps managers you've worked with in the past, other colleagues, and ask them for a recommendation that sits on your profile, basically acting like an online reference for you as well, which just adds to your credibility. So there's a lot there, but I would definitely recommend spending some time on your profile before you start any other activity on LinkedIn.
And in terms of, for example, all the experience, the work experience and things that you can list there, and education and all that kind of stuff, how much should you put on there?
So definitely go into a bit of detail, but I would say the key difference between your LinkedIn and your CV is you don't want them to be exactly the same. So we normally suggest definitely having key achievements on your CV. So that could be facts and figures and things like that, but it's probably too confidential to have that on LinkedIn. And you don't want to be, any sensitive information being passed over, but it should be able to give you the person viewing it a really good understanding of your background and experience. So enough detail, but not as much as your CV.
And in that little sort of about me, the about sort of section, is it useful to use kind of certain types of keywords that are, common in your sector?
Yes, absolutely. So it's really important you do that. The headline and the about section are the two main sections that will contribute to you being found on LinkedIn. So it's really important that you spend some time looking at different job adverts and understanding what the keywords are within your industry. And of course, you don't just put them down there, but just make sure that you're explaining your work experience, your background, and the opportunities that you're looking for, and you'll naturally touch upon these keywords in that section.
Yeah, Great. And what about other features of LinkedIn? There's so many different things that you can do on LinkedIn these days.
Oh,
I was on a webinar the other day and they were talking about, posting your articles direct to LinkedIn and connecting with other people and things like that. What in terms of like joining groups and things like that, what's your advice on that?
yeah, so there's so many different things. You can join groups, so you'll be able to use the search function to find groups that are related to your industry, or perhaps back to work groups. You can follow different companies such as, Working Mums. You can see all things like that. But the other thing you can do is you can also build up, I suppose, your knowledge of the industry if it is changing. So make sure that you're following companies of interest and make sure that you're following industry bodies as well, because this is your opportunity to contribute content and your thoughts and ideas within your field, which will get you noticed. So the important thing is LinkedIn, you should be kind of hanging around where other people that are doing similar things that you want to do, because you're then building your network that way. So think about where would the people that you're ideally looking to work with, where they are on LinkedIn, and there's the groups and the companies that you should be following. The other fantastic feature on LinkedIn that many people, I suppose, forget about is you can use the search function and just type in "we are hiring" and then filter it to location, and you will find everybody in that sort of field that are hiring, and there's recruiters sitting there with "we are hiring" that you'll be able to connect with that are currently recruiting at the moment, just in case they've not got active vacancies out there and are willing to receive speculative applications.
Great. And in terms of posting on LinkedIn, I know that that's sort of recommended that you kind of showcase your expertise and that kind of thing on LinkedIn, but I know some people are quite reticent about commenting on other people's articles and that kind of thing. How important is that? And when posting, is it enough to just sort of say, I found this really interesting, or that kind of thing?
So yeah, it's a lot of people do find it really uncomfortable putting themselves out there on LinkedIn. So it's all very well getting your profile polished up, and ideally you would get headhunted and someone will approach you, but that's not going to always be the case. So you do unfortunately need to put yourself out there. Some people do post, and you could be perhaps sharing something that's quite thoughtful in your industry and commenting about how you think it's relevant, or why this is a positive change, or how this is going to improve things. But what you can also do is follow companies and people that you might be interested in working for, and giving those thoughts that way by adding to the comments, because that's still going to get you seen by others as well. So if you're not comfortable starting a brand new post yourself, it would be ideal if you can at least comment on other companies and people's posts, because it will be a good way to get you seen by potential recruiters and employers.
And also, I mean, I guess the difference between LinkedIn and Twitter, or X as it's now called, is, Twitter sort of thrives on controversy and can be quite a scary place to be sometimes. Which is sometimes there's like good and interesting debates and things like that as well. But on LinkedIn, it's much more professional, isn't it? It's much more about professional stuff. So you don't need to go out of your way to say something sort of provocative or anything like that. It's about sort of showing your expertise, really.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. I mean, of course, there's the odd bit of controversy that you see on LinkedIn, but I would recommend, particularly if you're job searching right now, just sticking clearly professional. Of course, you can comment, on your own life and situation and things like that, because people do want to know the person, behind the profile. But again, I would always stick away from, the, political or controversial topics.
Yes, absolutely. And in terms of time, how much time do you think would you recommend that somebody spends on LinkedIn? Because everybody's very time short these days.
Absolutely.
If you want to kind of update it, is it sort of an hour a day, an hour a week, a couple of hours a week?
Yeah, so what I always say to people, that job searching is a job in itself, and it can become quite stressful and a bit of an emotional roller coaster as you do go through it, and the pressure is even more added if you are not in a job currently and you're really keen to get back to work. So of course you will spend a little bit longer, you know, maybe completing your LinkedIn profile initially, but I don't think it's healthy for your own mindset to be sitting there scrolling on job boards, whether that's on LinkedIn or scrolling on LinkedIn posts for hours at a time. I mean, LinkedIn, with regards to commenting, you know, maybe spend 5-10 minutes a day looking through it and commenting on a few people's posts. But if you're job searching on LinkedIn, there is no point in you scrolling through the LinkedIn job search function, you know, every half an hour. Spend a couple of hours each day, maybe across all of the sites, and then go, I've done my work for today, I'm going to move on and look at it tomorrow. Of course, if you are in a job, maybe the pressure's off a little bit, and then you can spend, you know, maybe half an hour at the most looking at things. But I would say it's really important not to get into the, you know, habit of scrolling and obsessively looking at it, because, as I said, your mindset can be affected when you are job searching.
So it's a good idea to have a kind of fixed time limit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Time that you do it, yes, yeah. And what about updating it? Should you sort of look at it once, you know, should you update it regularly, or just check that you've got everything, you know, that because things move on quite a lot in social media, don't they? And
yeah, absolutely. So probably somebody who is currently job searching at the moment's profile is going to look a little bit differently from somebody who is comfortable in their position and maybe wants to engage with partners or suppliers or try and gain clients into the business. So again, the about section is in the headline of the two sections that I would review on a regular basis, just to make sure that it's current. Because, for example, in COVID, we talked about I can still be reached because I'm working at home, or I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but then the working practices again have changed to a hybrid approach. So I would quite regularly have a look at the about section and just make sure that it's fit for purpose, and change that element of it should you need to, if anything's changed in your own life job searching wise.
Great, that's all really useful information. Thanks so much, Emma. I'm sure
No
people
worries.
will find that very useful.
No, hopefully it does help.